The Sahara Desert is the largest hot desert on Earth. It stretches across 11 countries in northern Africa, covering over 9 million square kilometers. To put that in perspective, that is roughly the size of the entire United States. It is one of the hottest places on the planet. Summer temperatures regularly reach over 122 degrees Fahrenheit. It is also one of the driest. Most of the Central Sahara receives less than an inch of rainfall per year. It is in almost every measurable way a place where snow has no business showing up, and yet December 19th, 2016, a small Algerian town called Ain Sefra, population of 35,000 people, in the northern edge of the Sahara, about 3,500 feet above sea level, a place locals call the gateway to the desert. A man named Karim walked outside with his camera, and what he saw stopped him completely. Snow on the sand dunes. White snow sitting on top of bright orange sand, just resting there like it owned the place, like it had always belonged there. The contrast was so extraordinary, so completely impossible looking, that the photos he took went around the entire world within hours. He said afterward everyone was stunned to see the snow falling in the desert in such a rare occurrence. It looked amazing as the snow settled on the sand. Snow stayed for about a day, and then it was gone. Now, the last time snow had fallen in that town before 2016, 1979, 37 years earlier, and that storm lasted about half an hour and stalled traffic. So this was not something people were used to. This was not something anyone was prepared for. This was the sky doing something so unexpected, so completely outside the normal order of things. The science of how it happens I find very interesting, because this is where it gets a little strange. You need two things to make snow: cold temperatures and moist air. And the Sahara, for all its reputation for heat, actually gets surprisingly cold at night, because desert air is so dry and the skies are almost always cloudless. There is nothing to hold the heat in after the sun goes down. The temperature can drop dramatically overnight. In January 2005, a temperature of negative 14 degrees Celsius was recorded in Algeria. It's about 7 degrees Fahrenheit in the Sahara in Africa. And the moisture, it comes from the water on three sides of the desert: the Atlantic Ocean to the west, the Mediterranean Sea to the north, and the Indian Ocean to the east. Every so often, a low pressure system sweeps in and pulls that moisture deep into the desert, and when it meets that cold air sitting over the Atlas Mountain in the high desert plateau, the temperature drops just enough and the moisture is just enough, and the conditions line up in exactly the right, unusual way. And then it snows in the Sahara. The town of Ain Sefra has now received snow in 1979, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2021, and 2022. So while it is still extraordinarily rare, it is happening with a little more frequency lately. Scientists are watching that very closely. Now let's dream about the snowflakes. What would snow crystals look like falling onto hot orange sand in the middle of the Sahara Desert? Remember, a snowflake is a diary. Every crystal is a record of the exact atmosphere it was born in, the temperature, the humidity, the journey it took on the way down. And the Sahara's atmosphere is unlike almost anywhere else on Earth. The air there is extraordinarily dry. Even when moisture is present, it is nothing compared to what you would find over the Great Lakes or the mountains of Colorado. And dry air makes simpler crystals. The big lacy branching stellar dendrites, the most people picture when they think snowflake, those need humid, generous air. What falls instead, I imagine, is something quieter and more sparse. Simple plate crystals, clean little hexagons, hollow columns, needles so fine and pale they catch the desert light like tiny slivers of glass. And then those delicate little crystals fall through warm desert air on their way to the ground. They change as they fall, edges soften, some of them barely making it. The ones that do land on something they have never touched before in the entire history of snow falling in that place. Orange sand. Can you imagine a crystal born in cold air high above the Sahara lifting down through warm, impossible air and landing on a bright orange sand dune, resting there for a day in the sun before quietly melting back into the desert air it came from? That is one of the most quietly extraordinary things I can imagine a snowflake doing. That photographer, Karim, who walked outside one morning and found something completely unexpected waiting for him. They did not have a plan, they just walked outside and the snow was there. And they stopped and they looked and they took photos that went around the entire world. That is what snow does. It surprises places, it stops people, it makes them look up from whatever they were doing and just be present with something completely outside the ordinary. It does not matter if it is the Sahara or Death Valley or the slopes of a Hawaiian volcano. When snow shows up where it is not supposed to be, the whole world definitely pays attention, because snow is always trying to tell us something, and the message is always the same. Look up, something beautiful is happening right now and it will not last long. Be sure to check out all the snowflakes in the gallery, and I'll catch you next time.